Okay, so after you click Begin Test Now, it will bring you to this screen. Everyone should have the same screen that I have right here. At the top, you should see your name and your TSDS ID number rather than guest, which is what I have right now. As we're working through learning and practicing with these different tools, I want you to follow along and click the same things that I click. And then there will be times that I tell you to take a moment and work through and just play with some things on your own. So for now, please just work with me and click as I go so that we can all make sure that we understand the important pieces. All right, go to the top left-hand corner right above the passage. These are your navigation buttons. You can move forward and backward. It's pretty standard. You can also click Save to save any notes that you might have taken or other work that you've done. Right above that, we'll come back to this later, but I want you to see that this Items, click on this Items button. It's right above the Back button. This shows you the status of the question items that you've viewed so far or that you have access to right now. So this tells me that I am on question number 1, and these red triangles tell me that there's something wrong with my answer. Either it's incomplete or it's not answered for those question choices. We will navigate and look at that some more later. I just wanted to point it out while we're over here. All right. The next thing that I want to do is look at some of the options that you have within the passage. So if you want to expand the passage and make it a little bit larger, you can click on this button. I want you to look right here above the number 1, the right-hand button. Click on that to make it larger, and then click the left button to make it smaller. And then one more time, click the left button to completely get rid of the passage for now. Obviously, you don't want to leave it on this option for very long because you do need to look back into the passage when you're answering your questions. But sometimes it's nice to be able to just kind of clear the noise and look at just the question. So go back now so that you have your view looks like this. You have the passage and the first question on your screen. Right here in this drop-down box, you may have the option to speak passage. You know that on tests, if you get tests read to you, we are not allowed to read to you the passages. However, on STAAR, there will be some pieces of the passage that you can have read to you. When I see this, I know that it's going to read to me if I click it, and it will start at the instructions and read everything that is in italics because this is background information. Now, here's why it's useful. It's going to say words that might otherwise be confusing. You're going to hear background information so that once you start reading, you have more information to help you make sense of what you're reading. Now, again, not everyone has that option, but if you do have that option, in a moment, you'll have a minute to press it and listen. Do not push it right now, please. All right. One option that everyone does have is highlighting. So in order to get, like, right now, if I click the drop down, highlight is not an option. I can't click it, okay? But if I select by clicking and dragging, then highlight becomes an option. Right? So I can go to highlight and pick a color. Now, one thing that I want you to be aware of is that now highlight is not the last option. It's now reset highlight. So when I click that, it takes away all of my highlighting. All right. And one other thing, so obviously this is going to tell you if you have the text read to you, it won't read anything past here, okay? Some of you, but not all of you, may have boxes around some of the words in your passage. These are content and language supports. They're there to help you make sense of what you're reading, and please, please, please use them. You'll see sometimes when you click on them, they give you a definition or a synonym, and other times they give you a picture. So I'm going to give you just a few moments to click. I want you to practice highlighting and then removing the highlighting. And then I also want you to use, if you have the content language supports, go ahead and click on some of those and play with those some. We will come back together in about 60 seconds so that we can move on. Okay, come back. Hopefully you feel like you know how to use those two tools. I think that they're probably pretty easy for you, but now you know what they look like within STAAR. Okay, again, I need everyone back. You should be back. If you've moved around anywhere, you should be back on this page. Let's go ahead and scroll all the way to the top so that your screen looks like mine. One word about the highlighting. You are welcome to highlight in the passage as you read, but obviously you're going to be making tracks on paper. You have plenty of scratch paper. You can ask for more scratch paper, but you're going to be writing your tracks. If you want to highlight some things, go ahead and do that to help you, but for sure you're going to keep your tracks on paper, and then maybe just highlight a few things to help. All right, the next tool I want you to look at is the dictionary. So you know you have an electronic dictionary here. You can't go to Google and click dictionary, but you get to use the dictionary here. Everyone has access to, everyone has access to this, and it is a phenomenal tool that can help you in the reading and the writing. It can help you in lots of different ways. So I want to show you a few things. I want you to go right above the number 6, hover over dictionary so that it turns dark blue, and then click on it. You'll see that the dictionary opens in the bottom left part of your screen. A couple of things I want you to see. This blue arrow allows you to resize this dictionary window. You have to click once and then click again to make it stop. You can also go full screen with the dictionary by clicking the arrows with the dot. So go ahead and click that to make it full screen, and then click the arrows with the dot again to make it minimized again. So let's close the dictionary and then reopen it. Now I'm going to move the box and I'm going to close it. And then I want you to watch what happens when I reopen it. Okay, it shows up back where I left it. So if you need to move it around, if you don't like where it's at, you're welcome to do that. Okay, so let's look at some ways to use the dictionary and make it super useful. Okay, I know this probably seems simple, but I want to walk you through a few things because there's some ideas that you may not be thinking about that I want you to practice with today. So I'm thinking of a word that I know. So I'm going to think of the word bring. Bring is a verb, but I also know that it is an irregular verb. So when I make it into a past tense word, it turns into something else. It's not bringed, bringed. But what if I can't think of what that is? Let me just type in bring. Yeah, I want you to type the same thing. And then you can either click the dictionary button or click enter. All right, it has 0 entries found. So I'm not going to give up though, because look, I have a scroll bar over here, guys. Scroll down and you have options. Now, the options are going to be based on the pattern of spelling that you use. So some of them may not be relevant. You just have to kind of look at them and see if one of them looks like the word you meant. And so I don't see bringed, but I do see bring. So I can click on that. Now look at this. If I scroll back to the entries found, look what it does for me. It gives me bring, which is the word I just clicked on, and then it gives me brought, brung, bring about. And so it gives me the different tenses of the verb, and then it gives me some phrases that also use the word. This could be very, very helpful. And now I know that the past tense might be something different. So I'm going to click on brought and see what happens. Scroll down. Look, past of bring. So that's my past tense. So if I need to spell brought, now I know how to spell it. All right. Now y'all know though, sometimes the dictionary definitions are not helpful. Sometimes they're just confusing. Let me show you how you can click a few of the options to make sense of what you're reading, even if the dictionary definition doesn't work. So I want you to highlight what you have entered in the box here. You can either backspace to delete it or just start typing over it. I want you to type in the word scones. Scones. This is a word from the passage that's here. S-C-O-N-E-S. And then you can either click enter or click the dictionary button. All right. So you'll see that it returned the word scone, which is the singular form. Scones is just more than one. All right. And I want to look at that. So I see that it's a quick bread baked on a griddle or in an oven. So I just need to know that that's a bread. Okay. Well, there's nothing really else that I can click on here unless I have text to speech. Then I can click the speaker to read aloud to me the word and the definition. Okay. Let's look at another word. I want you to practice clicking on some synonyms. Sometimes the passage will give you synonyms. So in the box, I want you to type in moreover. Moreover is a transition word that you might use when you're writing. So M-O-R-E-O-V-E-R. M-O-R-E-O-V-E-R. Let's say I've read that word and I don't really understand what it means, or I don't recognize it. I'm going to either click enter or click the dictionary button to bring up the entry. It found one entry. When I scroll down, look what I have. I have the definition in addition to what has been said. That's the definition. But then I also have this blue hyperlinked word next to it. Now we know a hyperlink, typically if you click on it, takes you somewhere else, right? Let's click on it. Scroll back to the top so that you can see now you're looking at the dictionary entry for the word besides. Besides is the word that we clicked on. It's the synonym for moreover. And I can see now that moreover means either except for, okay, besides means either except for or in addition to. Okay. What if I choose the number 2 right here? Okay, look, in addition, also. So now I know that moreover is just another word for also. And I've figured that out by clicking and finding the different hyperlinks that had synonyms. All right, I'm going to give you 2 minutes. I want you to play with the dictionary. Actually, sorry, no, I'm going to give you 1 minute. Play with the dictionary. I want you to search some things, click around, see what you can find out what happens when you misspell a word, and let's see how you do. Okay, go ahead and wrap up and come back to me, please, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let me show you what happens if I have an entry in the dictionary and I close the dictionary and then I open it again. It keeps my work. Okay, so it saves what I was already working on. Let's look real quickly. Here's a word, Yungabilla, that looks very unfamiliar to me. I'm going to type that in and see if I can get a definition for it. Okay, 0 entries found. So that means that it is either misspelled or it's not a word in the dictionary. Now I know that it's capitalized, which tells me it's probably the name of something. So proper nouns are not always in the dictionary, or sorry, are not often in the dictionary. But I do want to look at my options here and see. Okay, so it gives me the option ungainly. Well, obviously that is not what I meant. So I'm going to move on. What if I misspell something? What if I spell, like, let's say I need to know what eagerly means. Eagerly. And even when I'm writing and I'm trying to think, oh, I can't remember how to spell that word. So this could be for your essay or reading or anything. Dictionary works the same through the whole test. All right, I want you to type in eagerly, E-G-E-R-L-Y, E-G-E-R-L-Y. I know it's misspelled. Click on dictionary to search it. Again, it gives me 0 entries found. I want you to scroll down and see what it does give you. See if it helps you know how to spell eagerly correctly. Look, that's our first option right there. Oh, that's the way to spell it. Got it. Okay, now I can close that and move on. The next thing that we're going to do, and you'll have some time later to play with all of these things. The next thing that I want you to do is mouse over to the number 7 and click on Notepad just above that. The Notepad is a place for you to type notes. Now, it is not the best choice because watch this. I want you to type the note. I want you to just type some notes. Type that. Okay, type my notes. And now I'm going to close the box. So close your box. Okay, now I need to add something to the notes I just wrote. So let's go back to the Notepad, go above the 7 and click on Notepad. As you can see, it doesn't save. Now, it will save if you remember to click Save and Close. So let's try it again. Type some notes. Save and close. Now, where are your notes that you just wrote? Are they anywhere visible on the screen? Well, they're there because we saved and closed. The problem is that they're not easy to find and they don't follow the passage. So if you wrote a note for a piece of the passage or you wrote a note for the question, it doesn't stick with that. It's just going to be all of the notes that you made right here for the whole passage together. You have 1,750 characters to use, which is a decent amount, but you probably would be much better off doing your tracks on paper. Okay, use this if you want to, but definitely do your tracks on paper. All right, go ahead and close that. Hover over the 8 and then go to the line reader above it. The line reader will allow you to highlight one line at a time as you're reading if you have that option. So if you do have that option, make sure that you click it so it's orange and then practice just moving up and down a bit. Now I want you to look right above the 9. You have the option to zoom in and zoom out, the 9 and the 10. You can zoom out. I'm sorry, zoom in and you can zoom out if you want to make it bigger or smaller. Now let's look at some of the tools that are specific for the questions, for the items, okay? Right here in the circle below the 10, I want you to hover over it so it becomes dark blue. Click it. And then I want you to click on Tutorial and watch. This will be available to you during the test on any question. So if there's a question and you're not sure how to answer it, or you just want a refresher, you are welcome to click on tutorial. So you should have clicked on that and watched it on your screen as it was playing on mine. Now I want you to click the X to close that out. Go back to the drop-down box. Click on Mark for Review. What do you notice that has changed? So you should have seen that it now looks like the corner of this number 1 is folded down, kind of like when you dog-ear a page to remember it. And over here there is a flag that says Mark for Review. Now all this does is at the end of the test, when I submit my test or tell it I'm done, it's going to say, hey, wait, you had a couple of things that you wanted to come back and look at. So Mark for Review will show up at the end when you submit, and it also will show up in your items list now. So go to the top left side of your screen and click on Items. And it tells me that I've marked questions. So it'll have a flag on anything that I've marked and that I have unanswered items. So we're going to click that to close it. Come back to the menu above the question. Scroll down. Okay, if I want to unmark it, I'm done with it, I can click unmark. So go ahead and unmark yours. Click the box again and scroll down to sticky notes. These are much like the notepad. Now the sticky notes will stay with the question, but you still have to open it to see what you've typed. So I just want you to type the word word. Okay. The sticky note doesn't have anything to do with your test score. It is just a tool for you. The notepad is the same way. It has nothing to do with your test score. It's a tool for you to use. All right. So we're going to type the word word, and then we're going to close our sticky note. Well, I don't see anything that shows me a sticky note. Do you? Let's reopen sticky notes. Type the word word again. This time I'm going to remember to save and close. And you'll notice that there's an icon here that shows me I have made notes on this question. If I want to come back and look at those notes, I can. Again, you may find it easier to use your paper because that's what we've practiced with all year, but you are welcome to use this if you like. One other tool that everyone has is the strike through. The strike through is an option that lets you mark out those answers that you know are ridiculous. Okay, it will let you strike through every question if you want to. So if you didn't already, I want you to click strike through and then strike through one or more options. If I want to unstrike through, I just click it again and you'll see that it goes away. Now, one thing to know is that even if you have done a strike through on a question, on an answer choice, you can still select that as your answer and it will be picked up as your answer. And then let's look at one more item that some of you may have. Again, if you have the boxes for the content and language supports over in the passage, you will also have it sometimes in the questions, okay, either in the question or in the answer choices. Right? So if you still are in strike through mode, you can just click anywhere away from an answer choice and it will take you back to not being in strike through. Right? So if you have a box around something, you can click it to see a definition or to see maybe a part of the passage that that word came from. And then you also, some of you may have the option to have the passage read to you, or I'm sorry, the question read to you. So you would do speak option or speak question. Speak option would be if you've clicked on one thing and you want it to just read that answer again. All right. All right. I want to show you a couple more things quickly, and then you're going to have the rest of the class to play around with this and to practice answering questions. All right, so I want you, actually on number one, we're on number one still. Go ahead and mark for review so that you can see what that looks like later. And then I want you to click on the number 10. This is an extended constructed response. This is your full essay. It tells me to write an essay. So again, you will have some practice with the ER and the STR, but right now I need you to move on. So go to number 10, and then on your navigation button, I need you to click Next. Now you're going to get an error message because we didn't answer all of the questions for this passage. This is just kind of a heads up, like, hey, you may want to go back and look. There are some questions you haven't answered. I know that we didn't answer all of these right now, so I'm going to click yes, and so are you. Click yes to move on. Right. And then I want you, on this next one, I want you to click on question 14. Question 14 is a multi-part question. So right now, let's go up and look at our items drop-down box. And you'll see, because we've already looked at passage 1, it shows all of those questions as well as the questions for this passage. All right. So this is a multi-select question, which means that I have to answer both parts for it to tell me that I'm done. So everybody just pick A and then click on the items button to see what happens. Okay. I know we're on question 14 and it still shows me that 14 is not answered, but I just answered it. Well, that's a clue that I need to go back and finish answering the question. I missed a part of it. So I'm going to click items again to collapse that box. I'm going to scroll down and go ahead and click A. That is not the correct answer. But now I want you to look at the items and you'll see that the triangle has gone. So it tells me I have answered both parts of that. Y'all, this is a good way to double check that you haven't missed something simple. I want you to go to number 19 and click Next and Yes. And from here, I want you to click on number 28. So you should be on question 28. This is a multi-select question. You know it is different because it has boxes. And it tells me to select 2 correct answers. I want you to select any 2 answers just to see what happens. What if you didn't read the answers? I'm sorry, if you didn't read the instructions carefully and decided that you were going to click 3? Will it allow you to click 3 answers? No, it will not. So in order to change my selection, I'm going to have to unclick the one I don't want anymore and click the one I do want. Okay, that's multi-select. So I want you to have only one box checked. I know it says 2, have only one box checked. Go look at your items drop-down menu. Item 28 says that it is not answered. So that tells me I need to go back and look at it. Select another box, it does not matter which one. And you will now see that your items menu shows that answer is, that item is answered. Now we're on number 28. I want you to click Next. And yes, I know that there are unanswered questions. Go to question 32. 32 is a drop-down box. You know how to do these. You just select the one that you want. Okay. There may also be some text entry where you just have to write in one word. There are none of those in this practice test, so I'm going to show you a picture of one. Okay, This is one of those questions that you will just type in one word. Now, on this one, it's asking which which word from this sentence helps you understand the meaning of the underlined word. You have to type it spelled correctly. Please be careful. If it is something that you can spell correctly, do so. If you're not sure how to spell it because it's a word that's not in the passage, use your dictionary and see if you can find out. And then there's one other type that I want to show you that is a text entry. All right, so this is the other type. And this is just, you're going to have to type in a word. The poet uses blank person point of view in this poem. So that's something that you will just have to know because you have learned about first person point of view. All right. Now, you have the rest of class today to practice answering these questions. Before you do that, I want you to go to the items drop down and look and see what you can see. All right. Obviously, you have one question that's completely answered, plus the current question if you actually chose something in the drop down. You can navigate around to any of these questions. It's still going to tell you that you haven't answered a question because something for that passage is missing. So for the rest of class today, I want you to work on answering some of these questions. You can choose the ones that you want to work on, and then you will have an exit ticket at the end of class to talk about what you've learned today. All right, guys, I know that now that you know how to use all of these tools, you are going to be so successful and you're going to use all of the things available to you on STAAR, and I cannot wait to see how well you do. Thank you so, so much, guys.